Hey there, students and friends. How's it going? I am finding myself with a little bit of spare time, so I'm going to use that as an opportunity to continue reading Sir Orfeo as translated by JRR Tolkien. Um, I'm going to hop right into it. We're picking back up on line 409, and I'm going to rotate my camera to something a little bit more visually interesting, something kind of relaxing, maybe like that. Some rain falling onto a windowsill. And I'm just going to jump right into it. When he had marked these marvels all, he went before the king in hall, and there a joyous sight did see, a shining throne and canopy. Their king and lord there held his seat, beside their lady fair and sweet. Their crowns and clothes so brightly shone, that scarce his eyes might look thereon. When he had marked this wondrous thing, he knelt him down before the king. O Lord, said he, if it be thy will, now shalt hear my minstrel skill. The king replied, What man art thou, that hither darest venture now? Not I, nor any here with me, have ever sent to summon thee. And since here first my reign began, I have never found so rash a man, that he to us would dare to wend, unless I first for him should send. My lord, said he, I thee assure, I am but a wandering minstrel poor. And sir, this custom use we all, at the house of many a lord to call. And little though our welcome be, to offer there our minstrelsy. Before the king upon the ground, he sat and touched his harp to sound. His harp he turned as well he could, glad notes began, and music good, and all who were in palace found came unto him to hear the sound. And I lay before his very feet, they thought his melody so sweet. He played and silent sat the king, for great delight in listening. Great joy his minstrelsy he deemed, and joy to his noble queen it seemed. At last, when he his harping stayed, this speech the king to him then made. Minstrel, thy music pleaseth me. Come ask of me, whate'er it be, and rich reward I will thee pay. Come, speak, and prove now what I say. Good sir, he said, I beg of thee, that this thing thou wouldest give to me, that very lady fair to see, who sleeps beneath the grafted tree. Nay, said the king, that would not do. A sorry pair ye'd make, ye two, for thou art black and rough and lean, and she is faultless, fair, and clean. A monstrous thing then would it be to see her in thy company. O sir, he said, O gracious king, but I would be a fouler thing, from mouth of thine to hear a lie. Thy vow, sir, thou canst deny. Whatever I asked, that should I gain, and thou must needs thy word remain. The king then said, Since that is so, now take her hand in thine, and go. I wish thee joy of her, my friend. He thanked him well, on knees did bend. His wife he took then by the hand, and departed swiftly from the land, and from that country went in haste. The way he came he now retraced. Long was the road that journey past, to Winchester he came at last, his own beloved city free, but no man knew that it was he, beyond the town's end yet to far, lest men them knew he did not dare. But in a beggar's narrow cot, a lowly lodging there he got, both for himself and for his wife, as a minstrel poor of wandering life. He asked for tidings in the land, and who that kingdom held in hand. The beggar poor him answered well, and told all things that there befell, how fairies stole their queen away 10 years in time of May, and how in exile went their king, in unknown countries wandering, while still the steward rule did hold, and many things beside he told. Next day, when hour of noon was near, He bade his wife await him here. The beggar's rags he on him flung, his harp upon his back he hung, and went into the city's ways, for men to look and on him gaze. Him earl and lord and baron bold, lady and burgess, did behold. Oh, look! Oh, what a man! They said. How long the hair hangs from his head! His beard is dangling to his knee. He is gnarled and knotted like a tree. Then as he walked along the street, he chanced his steward there to meet. And after him aloud he cried, Mercy, Sir Steward, have on me. A harper I am, from heath and ease. To thee I turn in my distress. The steward said, Come with me, come. Of what I have thou shalt have some. All harpers good I welcome make, for my dear Lord Sir Orfeo's sake. The steward in castle sat at meat, and many lord there had his seat. Trumpeters, tabourers there played, harpers and fiddlers music made. Many a melody made they all, but Orfeo silent sat in the hall, and listened. And when they all were still, he took his harp and tuned it shrill. Then notes he harped more glad and clear than ever a man hath heard with ear. His music delighted all those men. The steward looked and looked again. The harp in hand at once he knew. Minstrel, he said, come tell me, whence came this harp to thee, and how? I pray thee, tell me plainly now. My lord, said he, in lands unknown, I walked a wilderness alone, and there I found in dale forlorn a man by lions to pieces torn, by wolves devoured with teeth so sharp. By him I found this very harp, and that is full 10 years ago. Ah, said the steward, news of woe! 'Twas Orfeo, my master true. Alas, poor wretch, what shall I do? Who must so dear a master mourn? Ah, woe is me that I was born. For him so hard a fate designed, a death so vile that he find. Then on the ground he fell in swoon. His baron stooping raised him soon, and bade him think how all must end, for death of man no man can mend. King Orfeo now had proved and knew his steward was both loyal and true, and loved him as he duly should. Lo, then he cried, and up he stood. Steward, now to my words give ear. If thy King Orfeo were here, and had in wilderness full long suffered great hardship, sore and strong, had won his queen by his own hand out of the deeps of fairyland, and led at last his lady dear right hither to the town's end near, and lodged her in a beggar's cot. If I were he whom ye knew not, thus come among you, poor and ill, in secret to prove thy faith and will. If then I thee had found so true, thy loyalty never shouldest thou rue. Nay, certainly, tide what betide, thou shouldest be king when Orfeo died. Hadst thou rejoiced to hear my fate, I would have thrust thee from the gate. Then clearly knew they in the hall that Orfeo stood before them all. A steward understood at last. In his haste the table down he cast, and flung himself before his feet, and each lord likewise left his seat. And this one cry they all let ring, Ye are our lord, sir, and our king. To know he lived so glad they were. To his chamber soon they brought him there. They bathed him, and they shaved his beard, and robed him, till royal he appeared, and brought them in procession long, the queen to town with merry song, with many a sound of minstrelsy. Ah, Lord, how great the melody! For joy the tears were falling fast, of those who saw them safe at last. Now was King Orfeo crowned anew, and Herodes his lady too, and long they lived till they were dead, and king was the steward in their stead. Harpers in Britain in after time these marvels heard, and in their rhyme a lay they made of fair delight, and after the king it named aright. Orfeo called it, as was meet. Good is the lay, the music sweet. Thus came Sir Orfeo out of care. God grant that well we all may fare. And that, students, is the end of the story of Sir Orfeo. Let me get my camera readjusted. That was fun. A couple of times the rhyme scheme slipped up because how I pronounce something now with my American English dialect certainly was different than how Tolkien intended it to be pronounced with his English dialect and an archaic bit of dialect at that. So some of those rhymes were more of a slant rhyme, and I was meant to pronounce it one way and pronounce it another way. However, it was fun to read that story and appreciate how easy it was once I got into the zone of reading the poetry form a bit. Appreciate how easy it was to just roll with it. The story kind of carried itself along with that language, and that was fun. It was also a pretty good story about a king who is noble and all good, essentially, setting off to find his kidnapped wife and set things to right. And also, I thought it was a fun little twist. I was half expecting Sir Orfeo to, at some point, brandish steel against the king that stole his wife and slay things, as one would expect a knight to do. But he did it with cunning in his disguise as a minstrel, and he used his skills in the arts to in fact win back his wife. And I think that makes for such a great fairy story. So I'm going to think about that for a little bit. What a fun one to reflect on. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. That's going to conclude this video. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay in the pursuit of knowledge. Goodbye.